welcome to the fourth QPR Preview Show of the season ahead of a tough-looking trip to Southampton. We'll preview that one shortly, but of course you joined us on the back of a narrow 1-0 defeat against league leaders Ipswich, and nearly a week on, Dave. I still can't believe we came away from that match with nothing.
Yeah, we were really unlucky, weren't we? I mean, come away from so many defeats that this calendar year and just felt like we deserved to lose that, but we didn't last week. I thought we played really well. It was a really encouraging performance. Armstrong was really good again. I thought the midfield played well. I was impressed with Smith again at right wing back. Thought we did really well. It's just kind of the same story as the last couple of games when the subs were made and Field and Armstrong went off. We lost it a little bit, but there's a lot to be encouraged about. Even though we lost, I thought there's a lot of positives out of the game.
Yeah, we could have won, should have at least drawn, and of course, typical QPR ended up losing. Ipswich fans we were talking to after the game agreed we didn't deserve to lose. You mentioned there a few of our chances, and they were big chances as well in that game, weren't they? I'm not ashamed to admit, twice I was up thinking we'd score. They were so close. And then Chair, 50 yards out, we nearly saw one of the great QPR goals. Like I say, just can't believe we didn't get anything out of the game. And I think Ainsworth was right when he was really positive and upbeat after the game, wasn't he? In his interviews, he was saying we may have lost, but it feels like we're on an upward trajectory now, especially from where we were a few weeks ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, you see where we were after that Watford game. It was like, are we ever going to get a point this season, let alone win a game? And the difference in performance was vast. We looked a decent championship side. I thought Ipswich are a good team, and the game could have gone either way, really. But yeah, there's lots to be positive about. It's just, for me, it's just about what we do in the rest of the window now. Can we reinforce this squad? Because the first 11's good. I think they're all right. Beneath that is still not too clever. And when you need to rely on those ones beneath the first team, we face a bit of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. We'll probably come on to the transfer window later. An issue that I wanted to highlight this week, and you touched on it straight away, was the players again seemed to get deflated when Field and Armstrong went off the pitch. That kind of lost us the game. And it was 0-0. There was no need for them to lose belief. It was still an even game at that point. And I've got an image here. It's only 3 minutes after Sam Field went off, and we'd sunk so deep. 9 out of the 10 QPR players, all within 25 yards of our own goal, and there's not even anybody near the ball. They're just inviting Ipswich onto us. And of course, just a few minutes later, the second image, it's the same thing again when Ipswich score. All they did, it was a basic move, pass out wide, cross into the box. But we've invited that on because, as you can see from the image, all of our players have retreated into our own box. And there was just no need for it. We were playing well. And I just don't understand why we get so deflated and defeated, kind of go in on ourselves when we get any kind of adversity. It needs to be addressed, doesn't it? Because we can't progress if we can see the first goal or if the player gets injured and we just collapse.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing. You could feel as the game was going, the longer it went, Ipswich were like, because they've been on such a good run, they're like, well, we'll just win the game late. We will win it. And the longer it went, you could see us going, oh, God, we're going to lose. What do we do now? And when Phil went off, you're right, we dropped so deep. And what frustrated me, even after they scored, we just seemed very panicked with the ball. We just kept giving it away straight away. We never really built up any pressure on them in the last 10 minutes. Try and win a few corners, get a few free kicks, get the ball around their box, make them panic a little bit. We made it a bit too easy for them. We were very rushed with what we did. And that mindset has to change, but hopefully it will come as the season goes on. Basically, they're going to need a few results. They need to prove to themselves they can win these games. Then I think we can go on to better things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned the transfer window. We do need a bit more depth, and we're just touching on it there. They've got to improve the levels of confidence. Maybe it will come. It could just take Ainsworth a lot longer to shift that because it's probably been ingrained in us now for 12, 18 months where anything goes wrong and we disappear. I just want to add before we move on as well, what a top club Ipswich were at the weekend. The fans were superb on Saturday. They were singing well before kick-off, long after the final whistle. Their comments on our show last week were all in great spirits. They were the same in person around the ground. Great to have them back in the league, and we wish them well for the rest of the season. On to Southampton. I said last week we hadn't played Ipswich for 5 years. Well, it's 8.5 years since we met Southampton last. That was in the top flight. We haven't met them in the Championship since 2009. They had a terrible end to last season, going down with a bit of a whimper in the end. They didn't even win in the last 13 games from the end of March until opening day of this season. They've now made an unbeaten start, though, 7 points from 9. So things aren't getting any easier for us, Dave.
No, you look at them on paper, you just think they're going to be there or thereabouts this season, aren't they? The players they've got. Just looking at like Teller and how good he was last year at Burnley, you think they've just got too much quality for this league. The only issue they're having is obviously having to sell a lot of their big players, and although it's a good thing for them, they're going to have a lot of money to spend to reinforce it, and they should be able to put together a very strong team with that money. They're running out of time to do it, and it's whether they get them signings right will probably decide where they finish this year. But on Saturday, it's you couldn't pick a worse team to play. Really, they're a very strong team.
Yeah, I know. It's just, to me, it just shows a bit of like the growing disparity in our league because they've lost people like Ward Prowse, got all that money in. They're actually conceding as many goals as us. They're not even playing that great, you could say, but they're still unbeaten in the league, 7 from 9. They're only going to get better as the season goes on. Obviously, a new manager there, Russell Martin. And if they're already doing well, you wonder how they're going to do in a few months' time. Touching on Russell Martin there, one of the teams we were most critical of over the last couple of years was Swansea because they were just so boring to watch. He's gone obviously in there. He's kind of been against the grain so far. They've actually been quite entertaining to watch in their matches so far. And they've got 2 players on 3 goals already in Armstrong and Adams. We've only scored 2 goals in 4 games as a team. The difference there is stark as well, isn't it?
Yeah, if you look at their attacking options, like Armstrong was probably one of the best strikers in the Championship 2 years ago before he left to go to Southampton. They're really good. Che Adams is quality, Teller's quality. They should be exciting to watch with those kind of players. I'm a bit undecided about their manager. I was never really that impressed with his Swansea side. They seem to pass a lot for the sake of it. And I thought they did that in their first game against Sheffield Wednesday. I thought they could have won that a lot easier than they did in the end. But you look at what he's got available, they're going to do well, and they're a strong team.
Yeah, I think any manager could probably put together a half decent team with those players. Interesting to see how he does. Let's look at QPR then. We've already touched on the lack of belief when something doesn't go to plan. And there's also a bit of a clear fitness issue going with the team as well. Last weekend, Willett could only do 45 minutes. Colback was struggling to then do his 45 minutes. Armstrong can only do 60 minutes. Again, how does he resolve this? Because obviously all the investment in the sports science doesn't really seem to be paying dividends so far, does it?
Yeah, they've made such a big thing about the fitness and we're going to be fitter this year, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, the last 3 games, you got to 65, 70 minutes and the whole team is just gone. And they've been hanging on the last 20 minutes. Cardiff was a quite comfortable win until they all seemed to just die on their feet and they were in trouble towards the end. If you believe what he's saying that they'll get fitter as the season goes on, and this has always been the plan. But I do think it's worrying. It's very early in the season for like 4 or 5 players began having a cramp after an hour. It's like, well, what was you doing all summer? You're quite a long break off. But hopefully it improves. They're gonna need to keep these players fit because, as I said, when your Fields and your Armstrongs go off, the players coming on are not as good, and there's going to see a performance drop. And unless you're 2-3-0 up, you're going to have problems. And as we know from this team, they're not going to score 2-3 goals very often.
Yeah, and you know as well, with the long matches, basically every match now 100, 105 minutes. We need to be fitter than ever. We're just not seeing it, are we? And at the end of the game, Fox had a shot, and then it looked like he could barely walk off at the end of the game. Yeah. And we happened to see Steve Cook after the game, and he could barely walk when he was walking over to his kids and his family. He was literally like his body, the adrenaline had gone, and he could barely walk. I don't know. Hopefully, again, it's something else they can sort out as the season goes on and as players have a few more games. Lyndon Dykes, we know he's out for a few weeks. We only know that really from what he said to fans rather than anything the club have said. Do you expect Willett to be playing behind Armstrong again if they're both fit enough to start?
I think so. I mean, it's an opportunity for Willock, isn't it? You think he's probably going to want to move. The club probably want to sell him, and you're playing against a team that have got a lot of money to spend. So if he turns up and has a good performance on the weekend, I'm sure Southampton will probably be in for him. So it's a big opportunity for him, and probably a few of our other players as well if they're looking to move. That's probably the positive of this weekend. But I thought Willock did okay last week. It's probably best I've seen him for quite a while. It was a shame he went off, but it's again coming to this fitness thing. They need to get him up to speed, really.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there. I actually thought it was his best performance for a long time against Ipswich, and we were worse for him coming off. If Field can't make it, because obviously we mentioned he went off, you'd assume Colback would come in for him as a straight swap. But then obviously Jake Clark-Salter's close to return. He got 45 minutes for the development squad on Monday. Do you think he comes straight back in? Because the back 3, Cook, Kakai and Fox, they've actually looked quite well balanced, haven't they?
Yeah, I think he might hold Clark sort of back, maybe put him on the bench at the weekend because they have done okay defensively the last couple of games. We won't talk about Kakai's miss because that was, I think even I could have scored that, but defensively they have been a lot better the last few games, and they're going to need to be better at the weekend.
Yeah, the Kakai miss, like I said before, I literally was jumping up. I thought it was. Another issue to consider going forward is this the Begovic distribution because it was pretty terrible on Saturday. Obviously, a good goalkeeper made some good saves again, but when the ball's at his feet, you do notice the difference compared to Seny Dieng, don't you? Because the last 25 minutes, he was still lumping it up, and we only had Coley up there with like Smith and Chair. We have to do better than that because we're just not going to benefit from doing it.
Yeah, I felt for Coley because he's a young kid, it's his league debut, and he's getting ball shot 10 yards over his head. He's got no chance. Need to try, it's what I was saying before, we need to try and have a bit of pressure, like play a bit of football the last 10, 15 minutes. We went behind, but he just kept lumping it long and just giving the ball back to him. We was under the cosh again. And when you're having trouble with fitness, if the other team have got the ball for that long, you're just chasing shadows all the time. It's not going to help. He's done pretty well, Begovic, so far, but like I say, his distribution does look a problem, and that was Dieng's strong point, wasn't it? He was very good with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, it just to me was when you need the ball to score a goal, and we were literally kicking it out of play. He was throwing it badly. It just didn't help our chances once we went 1-0 down. The big question of the week, I suppose, as well, like you touched on it right at the start, the last few days of the transfer window, what are you hoping for?
They still need a few more players, I think. Whether they can afford them or not, I don't know. But I just look at the midfield. You look at if potentially Field might be out. The options don't look too great. I think we need strength in central midfield. And up front, we've been saying it for ages. It's just, you need more goals up there. You know, Dykes is out, so you're left with Armstrong and Coley. I thought Armstrong was brilliant last week, and I like the look of Coley, but it's asking a lot for them to be your two strikers for the season. You need a bit more up there, you know. So I don't know who they can get in. I wouldn't mind a right back as well coming in because I think we're weak there. Smith's done a good job as a wing back, but it'd be nice to have another option there. But it comes down to money, doesn't it, really? I mean, they probably need that Eze to Man City rumour to be true so they can get some money in this week. But no, like that'll happen right at the last second of the window, so we won't be able to spend it.
Yeah, I said on our forum last week that I feel now it's got to the point where we're kind of waiting for someone to leave or to get some money maybe from an Eze sale before we can do anything else. Maybe our hands are tied. I think if push comes to stuff the last few days, I don't know whether he's maybe going to get Chris Martin back in. If he's still available, I have a suspicion he could do that. It would be another person to play up front and let Armstrong play off the last defender. I agree, a right wing back, if we're playing that system now, they maybe need to get Drew out on loan to a League One, League Two club and get someone who's like for Smith, just someone with a bit of blistering pace who can keep playing that system when Smith's either tired or unavailable. They're to me two key positions. Central midfield, I guess he's probably going to have to just put some trust in Duke McKenna, Dixon Bonner, isn't he, and people like that. We've got bodies who can do those jobs. Up front and right wing back, we probably need to reinforce. Back to the match then, final predictions against Southampton. As much as we've improved since the opening day, we've said it, this still looks a tough one. What's your prediction?
Yeah, it's a tough one. You've got to say home win, you would have thought. You've been Southampton with, but you never know with Rangers. They do pick out some odd results, and you're probably better off playing Southampton before they get all their new signings in and they've settled down, but I can't see us getting anything at the weekend, unfortunately.
I'm hoping for a draw, but I just feel we're unlikely to get a clean sheet. And last week showed we aren't having much luck in front of goal either. Even when we had quite a lot of very good chances, we still didn't put it in the net. And because of what I've highlighted with our lack of belief, I feel if we're going to get anything from the game, we need to score first. Go 1-0 down. You're almost talking about game over. But a defeat may be the case, but at least we hopefully will go down fighting, which is a difference to a few weeks ago. Thank you again for watching, everybody. We will be back next week and we'll be previewing a trip to the other end of the country against Middlesbrough. That'll be the last show before the international break. Join us for that. Thanks again. Until then, come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.